The film begins with military radio communications, discussing a sudden attack by mysterious monsters all over the Earth. The military forces are hysterically defeated. 3 years later, the remnants of humanity are huddled high in the mountains, since the monsters do not rise above an altitude of 2,500 meters above sea level. In the mountains of Colorado, a small town is hidden where survivors live. A boy named Hunter from this town descends below the safe border to admire the village on another mountain through binoculars. Returning home, he notices a tail behind him, marked with a bright red light. Hunter runs up the slope to the outline border of the safe height for clarity, and the monster pursues him. At the last moment, the boy manages to cross the line, after which the monster falls behind. At home, Hunter tells his father named Will about what happened. He is unhappy with his son's actions and reminds him that his weak lungs could fail right during the run. Later, the man goes hunting with Katie, a friend of his deceased wife Tara. He tells how his son goes down below the border to see another community. Katie understands him. The child misses his peers. He doesn't even have anyone to play with. Having shot a deer, the hunters return with the prey. Along the way, they notice their neighbor Nina. Taki throws armor-piercing rounds from scrap materials, which she tests on the scales, chip off one of the monsters. Nina dreams of finding a way to kill dangerous creatures whose ear scales are impervious to simple Tyrian bullets. In the evening, Will hears a danger signal from the elation apparatus, to which he connects his son at night. He changes the oxygen tank so that the boy can breathe. Having been born premature, he is forced to live with underdeveloped lungs that can fail at any moment. Realizing that oxygen supplies are running out, Will plans a deadly sortie to the lowlands, where the city of Boulder is located. The hospital there probably has supplies left. The next day, he spends with his son, getting edible roots. The last father barters at the store for the last pack of macaroni and cheese, Hunter's favorite dish. They eat them with his son for dinner, after which Katie visits Will with a couple of bottles of beer. Sitting on the porch, they remember their carefree past life and watch Nina's experiments. In the evening, Hunter begins another attack, which forces his father to use a syringe with medicine. Realizing that there is no time left, he goes to his neighbor right in the middle of the night. It turns out that Nina had previously made a foray into Boulder's lab to collect chemicals and equipment to create a weapon against the monsters. Tara, Will's wife, died in that foray. Since Nina is the only one who managed to return alive from the hike, Will asks her to accompany him to the hospital. She refuses, reminding him that this is complete madness. The creatures will tear them apart. However, she never said, firmly decisive maybe, collecting a special compass until the morning. In the morning, Will stocks up on weapons for the hike in the armory. There he is found by Katie, who volunteers to go third. Nina is already waiting outside. Having said goodbye to his son, the man leads the female battalion along the route he laid out, which is designed to minimize the road below a safe height. On the way, Nina and Katie exchange typical female pleasantries, almost tearing each other's hair. Will is forced to rudely interrupt the quarrel, even knocking a flask of inspiring buoyancy out of the scientist's hands. Noticing a column of soldiers broken by monsters below, the travelers go down the path to the deserted Humvees and the remains of soldiers to search them for useful items. On the way, Nina explains that her compass can detect monsters at a distance of half a kilometer. They have a strong magnetic field, stronger than all living organisms on the planet. Nina gives the compass to Katie to keep an eye out for danger, while Will gets gear, and she digs up the monstrous armored scale for further research. When Will finds an underbarrel grenade launcher, Katie attaches it to her machine gun. They are ready to continue their journey, but first they exchange pleasantries. Nina accuses Katie of hitting on her dead friend's husband, and she reminds them who Tara died because of. Having exchanged blows, the group continues on their way. Soon they reach a ski resort, where there is a lift to another mountain. Nina notices on the compass that there is a monster nearby. Its signal light flickers in the forest behind her. Katie decides to quickly run to a safe height, but Nina objects that they will not have time. Will agrees with Nina and runs to the control room to start the lift. Katie, who has run away, fires a grenade launcher at the approaching monster, but the explosion does not harm it. While the girls shoot back from different positions, Will connects the power and starts the lift. He and Nina climb into the chairs and ride up. Having managed to run higher, Katie climbs onto a support pole. From where she jumps towards them, she manages to plane with her hands, and Will holds her. However, the monster monster touches the cable with its tentacle. The resulting wave shakes the cabin. Katie falls, and her comrades fall after her. Fortunately, the height was lower due to the vibrations and there were no injuries. The survivors get to their feet and fall on their heels, with the last of their strength managing to reach the safe zone. The monster obediently freezes in front of her. For the night, the companions stop at a resort house, drinking whiskey before going to bed. Nina says that the attack of the monsters was too fast and massive for people to understand where their weak spot is. Humanity fell in just a few days. It also turns out that they attack only people, leaving animals alone, which casts doubt on the theory that they are predators and hunt for food. Before going to bed, Will recalls a conversation with his wife before she left with Nina to the lab. The next day, the trio reaches the entrance to the mine. It pierces the mountain through and comes out on the other side. Nina reminds that only the entrance and exit are above the safe zone. In the middle, the tunnel with many branches down sags, and since the monsters crawled out from under the ground and are perfectly oriented under it, they will prowl the lower levels with a clear advantage, and the compass will not help since it will not work in the mountain range. Nevertheless, putting on miners' helmets with flashlights, they continue their way straight into the depths of the mine. At the other end of the path, it turns out that the exit is locked. The company decides to use a lower passage and goes down the stairs into the tunnel. In one of the corridors, covering the flashlights with their palms, they notice a red light. The monster is nearby. The people run away. Katie fires a grenade, hoping to block the entrance, but it doesn't help. The trio climbs into a narrow hole where they turn off the lanterns and hold their breath to avoid being burned by the carbon dioxide that the monster senses. The monster tries to feel them with a probe with a red light on the end, but to no avail. Kawaii for me and Huntai. Well thanks, and distracts the tentacle with a well-aimed flare. The resulting pause is enough to break into a narrow hole leading to the exit. Katie crawls first, and the first to stumble upon the monster lurking on the other side. He slams the girl onto a tentacle and drags her into the darkness, freeing a passage for Will and Nina, who climb out via a ladder they spotted nearby. They quickly mourn their deceased comrade, after which they continue on their way to the old huntswoman, where they plan to spend the night. In the old man's house, Will finds a package of macaroni and cheese. While munching on it for dinner, Nina tells him that she has a hypothesis. Supposedly the scales of the monsters create an electromagnetic field. If she comes up with a bullet that can short-circuit it, the monsters will simply explode. But to do this, she needs to get to the lab where there are chemicals. Will considers her idea nonsense and expresses regret that his wife died trying to help with this stupid theory. In the morning, having grabbed the gamekeeper's car, they go down to the safe border, where the city and the hospital they need to go are located. After a pause appropriate to the occasion, Will presses the pedal to the metal and rushes forward, remembering the grinding of metal, scaring away herds of wild animals. The car rushes down, straight to the deserted city, not yet overgrown with grass and weeds for 3 years. Having reached the clinic, the travelers make their way inside, glad that they can't neglect shoe covers. No one to scold for their absence. They carefully creep up to the upper floors to the storeroom, but inside there are only empty shelves. Hearing a suspicious noise on the first floor, the people creep further. Will finds more cabinets with supplies and fuses backpack, while Nina notes the presence of a monster nearby on the compass. They run to the exit when the monster begins to destroy the walls. Trying to get them, the people go up to the floor above, where Will is affectionately hugged through the wall by TikTok with the aim of committing all sorts of unnatural things. Nina asks Tentacles with a fire axe to let go of his friend, which he reluctantly does, having turned on the fire extinguishing system for camouflage. The people run to the end of the corridor. Will notices a warehouse of oxygen cylinders, and he hatches an insidious plan. Telling Nina to run, the man lies in wait for the monster to attack. At the right moment, it perforates the cylinder with a well-aimed shot, causing it to explode. The shock wave throws the monster out the window, where it falls lifeless. Nina, who has not run away, convinces Will not to rush home to the mountains, but to stroll to the nearby lab. They leave, not noticing how the fallen monster comes to. In the lab outside the city, where Nina used to work, she feels confident while she is fiddling with chemicals, coating a bullet with various materials and shooting at the armor scales for tests. Will examines the surroundings. He finds her office, where a photo of Nina's family remains. The man did not know that she even had a husband and children. The scientist says that she lost them during the monster attack because she was working that day. Although it was a day off, she still regrets not having died with them. The first experiments do not bring any results. Will suggests leaving, to which Nina advises him to go. She will stay and work, and if everything works out, she will catch up with him in her car, which is gathering dust in the parking lot. The woman makes several more samples, helping the dust to cool down with a gas burner. Only when the magnet needle is delayed by the approach of the monster, she notices the batteries and decides to use cobalt, which is used to create powerful heat-resistant magnets. Nina manages to create and load the first sample of a cobalt bullet. When the monster breaks into the building, she takes aim at it. At this time, Will rushes to the mountain, but the tire bursts and the car skids, crashing into a boulder and turning over. The driver loses consciousness. When he comes to, it is already evening. He hears the growl of the monster nearby and, grabbing the swag, runs up the mountain on foot. The monsters are chasing him across rough terrain. The man almost reaches a safe area, but a second monster is already waiting for him near the border. A third one follows. The creepy creatures slowly tighten a triangular ring around Will, who also has something tightening below his back. He desperately shoots back in a hopeless attempt to save himself, when suddenly, the monster from above falls motionless, after which it explodes, scattering into a firework of shreds. Nina stands proudly on the mountain with a full magazine of cobalt bullets. They short-circuit the electromagnetic fields of the monsters, causing an explosion. The woman shoots the remaining monsters, which, judging by the remains, are robots, programmed to kill only people and not rise above 2,500 meters of sea level. And judging by the alien design, these creatures were sent by aliens or the Chinese. But this is not certain. The survivors return to the village, where Will is met by his joyful son. Nina raises the Jolly Roger on the flagpole, a conventional sign for the rest of the settlements that she has found a way to fight the monsters. The good news spreads over the radio, and local craftsmen make cobalt coating for bullets from scrap materials. Having placed the saving bullet with Katie's name at the local memorial on the riverbank, Nina and Will set off to do what their friend always dreamed of, to fight the monsters. A squad of volunteers with new weapons descends from the mountains. The camera slowly flies over the landscape from a bird's eye view of the lake and the surrounding area. Here and there, explosions with fireworks are visible symptoms of the alien robots being destroyed. The remnants of humanity give a decisive rebuff to the invaders. And on this positive note, the film ends.